Today on the Audio Hotline, I'm going to be doing a review of the Neat Skyline USB microphone. According to Neat, the Skyline is a versatile USB microphone that's meant for podcast production, content creation, streaming, conferencing, work from home, e-learning, stuff like that. And I will be the first to tell you this microphone is very interesting. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but I actually think that this microphone is for more of a specific audience than Neat says. We'll go over all of that here in just a little bit, but first thing, let's get mic'd. Welcome to the Audio Hotline, and as I said before, I'm going to be reviewing the Neat Skyline. You can find the Skyline online for $69.99. However, I have actually seen it go on sale to like $50-ish before, so it seems like you can kind of get it in between that $50 to $70 mark. Not only does this microphone come in black, but it also does in fact have a white edition that you can also get. Now today I am recording into my MacBook M1 Pro, going into the good old Adobe Audition. I am in fact recording at 24-bit at 48 kilohertz, even though this microphone can go up to 24-bit at 96 kilohertz. One other thing that I do want to mention real quick is that I will be doing a comparison later in this video. Let me go ahead and put the microphones that I will be comparing this to up on the screen right now. This is definitely going to be one of them that I compare it to. I definitely will. Now with this review, I want to be very upfront right from the get-go. There are some really cool things about this microphone. Like I mentioned, the fact that it can do 24-bit up to 96 kilohertz. That's fantastic. A lot of USB microphones don't do that. Like for instance, this microphone right here that I actually really do like is the FiFine K678. And this microphone can only do 16-bit at 48 kilohertz. A lot of people would say that's a high enough quality, and I absolutely do agree. It is a high enough quality. But it is cool that Neat wanted to push that a little bit and raise the bar. Now, aside from its ability to record high quality audio, there are a couple things missing about this microphone that I want to mention right off the bat because they could be a deal breaker for some people. This microphone does have a little desk stand, much like the FiFine, you can have it on your desk and everything, but the FiFine does have other ways that you can mount it onto like a mic stand. The Neat Skyline does not have that. Where's the hole? It's not the first time I've said that. But yeah, there is no mounting option on the bottom here. There's no way to take the microphone off of this stand, which I think is a bit of a bummer because if you could raise this microphone up and get it a little bit closer to your mouth, it would sound a lot better. Now, another thing that the Skyline does not have that something like the K678, the Blue Yeti, a bunch of USB microphones do have, there's no place to plug your headphones into here and get latency-free monitoring. Right now, I have my headphones plugged into my headphone jack in my computer. Now, the problem with that is depending on your buffer speed and what your computer can handle, you may not be able to really get a latency-free mix. So I think that this not having a way to mount it on a microphone stand, and this not having a headphone jack with latency-free monitoring, I think is a bit of a miss. But if that does not affect you and you do not care about that, you just want to plug in your microphone, set it to the side, have better quality than your computer, maybe this is a good choice for you. But I have a hard time being like, yeah, go with this that's $10 more than the K678 that has all of those features. Obviously, it's just going to come down to what you need, but I just wanted to point those things out really quick. But now let's go ahead and move on and talk about what comes with the Neat Skyline if you decide to purchase it. The Neat Skyline very simply comes with a USB-C to USB-A cable, as well as the microphone itself, which does in fact have a built-in stand. Well, that was a pretty short list, so let's just go ahead and move on to the features of the Neat Skyline. Underneath a lip on the bottom of the stand area of this microphone, you will see the USB-C port. On the front part of the base is where you will find your mute button. When this microphone is not muted, there will be a green light around that button, and when the microphone is muted, that light will be red. This microphone is compatible with both Mac and PC. When it comes to the features and the build quality, I do think that the build of the microphone itself feels pretty plasticky and honestly pretty cheap. The bass actually feels really solid and pretty hefty, but the grill of the microphone feels cheap. The body is just kind of whatever. Now, I don't really think this is meant to leave anyone's desk, so I don't think build quality is the most concerning thing. I do really like the mute button and the light around it and stuff though, that's cool. I also do love that this is USB-C, but a big problem with not being able to mount this though is no matter what, you're always going to have desk noise. If you're messing with papers or typing on your keyboard, those noises are definitely going to make their way into this microphone. Well, now that we've gone through the basics and the features, now let's go ahead and nerd out and talk about some specs. The Neat Skyline has a proprietary condenser capsule that is internally shock mounted. This microphone features a cardioid polar pattern, a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz, a maximum sample rate of 96 kHz, and a maximum bit depth of 24 bit. This has a sensitivity of 16 millivolts per pascal, a max SPL of 120 decibels, a signal-to-noise ratio of 98 dBA, a noise level of 14 dBA, a dynamic range of 98 decibels, and a power requirement of 3.3 to 5 volts. Well, now that we've gone through all the fluff, all the details, now let's go ahead and get to some fun stuff. Let's go ahead and start testing this microphone out. During this section, I'll label whatever test I'm doing down in the lower third, so if you ever get lost or confused or whatever, just know it's right there. There will also be timestamps down below. Whoa, an outfit change in the middle of a video? What is this, a Madonna concert? I'm actually shooting this section before I shoot any other part of this video, so that's why I'm wearing different clothes. During this testing section, I will use a cheap windscreen and pop filter, just so you can hear that option, but this microphone does not come with either of those. But let's go ahead and get this a little bit closer to my mouth and do a proximity effect test. If you want to get a little intimate with this microphone, maybe even slightly freaky, and give it a little sniffy sniff, it smells kind of like garlic, and I think my lunch is the reason behind that. Now, if you were to get really close to this microphone with this tiny little windscreen on, here's how it's gonna sound. Now, if you want to get really close to this microphone with this gigantic cheap pop filter, here's how it's gonna sound. Now let's go ahead and do a couple plosives. Warning, this is going to be loud. Peter Parker picked a patch of pickled peanutses. 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 Now, if I was to type on a really loud keyboard right behind this microphone, here's how that's gonna sound. A lot of advertising pictures for microphones like this show the microphone right next to the computer, much like in this situation. Here's how that's going to sound if I'm typing on my keyboard. Now, if I was to accidentally hit my desk while recording or anything like that, here's how that's going to sound. Or if I was to, open some papers or, do something like that, this is how this microphone's going to pick that up. Now let's go ahead and take that polar pattern test one step further with some white noise. I know I've said this in other videos, but this is proof right here. Every time I get up from this chair, Blue steals it. Every time. Well, now that he's here, I guess we may as well just do the kitty purr test, right? Now let's go ahead and see if the mute button works and if it causes a pop or anything. About to mute myself. You won't be able to hear me in a second. Okay, here we go. And now unmuted. 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 Now here's a couple quick distance tests. This is with the microphone on the desk a foot away from my mouth. Now this is with the microphone on the desk 2 feet away from my mouth. Now this is with the microphone on the desk 3 feet away from my mouth. Now here's just a real quick example of 1 foot away from my mouth versus 1 foot away mounted up so it's a little bit closer and even to my mouth. Now, if anyone was considering getting this for podcasting, like Neat says it can be used for, here's how this can sound with a little bit of post-processing on it. I'll label whatever I used up on the screen, but I will, however, not use any EQ aside from just a slight high-pass filter to get rid of any rumble. I just want you to be able to hear how this actually sounds, so that's why I'm not going to EQ it. Now, if you were to use that same post-processing, but with this tiny little windscreen on, or with this gigantic pop filter. One other real quick test that I would like to do is just the Neat Skyline versus the microphone that's in the MacBook Pro. As of right now, this is the newest model, so it should have one of the better sounding internal microphones. So we'll just do a quick test of that. Right now, you are listening to the Neat Skyline USB microphone. Now you're listening to the microphone that is in the MacBook Pro, and here's how that sounds. And one more time, this is the sound of the Neat Skyline microphone. And once again, here is the sound of the microphone in the MacBook Pro. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a couple guitar tests, even though they technically didn't state that this is for music. I was going to do an electric guitar test, but I couldn't really mount the microphone anywhere in a good way, so I'm going to skip that one. So it didn't actually say this was compatible with a phone, but right now I am recording this into my iOS device, so it actually can supply enough power to run this microphone. I'm not sure how great it sounds, but with that being said, we are recording in a very reverberant room. Absolutely not treated. Some wood floors, some reflective surfaces, a little bit of carpet though, and also recording into an iPhone. I was a little bit surprised the Rode Reporter app even recognized the microphone. In addition to showing you a very untreated room, I also wanted to show you a room that it's just your standard bedroom with a bed in it that's, handling some of the reflections. But this is a pretty good example if you are going to be using this in just a standard bedroom. Well, now that we've got all that testing out of the way, now let's go ahead and jump into a blind comparison. Once again, here are the microphones that will be in this blind comparison. I will just be labeling them A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. So get ready for some repetitive phrases, and here we go. This is just a real quick palette cleanser microphone. It's the Rode VideoMic Go 2. This is in USB mode right now, so I guess it could be considered a part of the comparison after all, since it does come in at $100. But I wanted to let you know that during this comparison, I will be about 6 inches away from each of the microphones. And also I did adjust the gain on each of the microphones so they would hit negative 12 decibels. But let's go ahead and get into the blind comparison. This is the sound of microphone A in this blind comparison. This is the sound of microphone B in this blind comparison. This is the sound of microphone C in this blind comparison. This is the sound of microphone D in this blind comparison. This is the sound of microphone E in this blind comparison. Once again, this is microphone A. A as in asinine Allison always attracts apeshit. Once again, this is microphone C. C as in canoodling cowboy culture. Once again, this is microphone E. E as in emo Ethan elbowed Emery. Once again, this is microphone B. B as in bodacious bubble bum bum. Once again, this is microphone D. D as in disciplined Dave daringly defecated. Here is the asinine Allison always attracts apeshit microphone. Microphone A. And here's how it sounds. Here is the emo Ethan elbowed Emery microphone, microphone E, and here's how it sounds. Here is the disciplined Dave daringly defecated microphone, microphone D, and here's how it sounds. Here is the bodacious bubble bum bum microphone, microphone B, and here is how it sounds. Here is the canoodling cowboy culture microphone, microphone C, and here's how it sounds. Alright, you guys ready for the blind comparison results? Alright, here they are. Microphone A was in fact the Neat Skyline, which comes in around $70. Microphone B was the Rode NT USB Mini, which comes in at $100. Microphone C was the Blue Yeti, which often comes in anywhere from $100 to $130. Microphone D was the FiFine K678, which comes in around $60. Microphone E was the Samson Satellite, which I've actually never used before. This microphone goes anywhere from $80 to $100, but usually $100. Well, now that we've gone through all the details, all the information about the Neat Skyline, now I'm going to go back and edit this first portion of the video, listen to this microphone a lot, listen to the comparison a lot, then I'll come back in a couple seconds for you and give you my opinion, my review of the Neat Skyline. Who even needs a 1/4, 20, or 3/8 mounts on a microphone when you can just gaff tape the hell out of it? Well, now that I've listened to this microphone an absolute ton, I am ready to give you my review, my opinion of the Neat Skyline. I'm actually surprisingly torn with this microphone. A lot of the stuff that I've brought up in this review have actually been negatives, but there is one thing that is definitely a positive about this microphone, and it's the fact that it actually sounds surprisingly good. Sound is definitely the most important part. However, it is pretty hard for me to recommend a microphone that you basically have to gaff to a microphone stand if you want it to get close to your mouth. Unless you want to hunker down and get real close to it. The fact you can't put it on a mic stand isn't the worst complaint for me, though. The worst complaint is the lack of latency-free monitoring. I mean, this microphone came out in 2021. There's basically no excuse for not having it. And maybe a lot of people feel like I'm not going to wear headphones in my videos or on my conference calls anyway, so it's not a big deal to me. And maybe for you, that's fine, but I do feel like for people that take their audio a little bit more seriously, that want to monitor, make sure they're not clipping, this microphone makes it a little difficult. On top of those other complaints, I do feel like the build quality is pretty lacking, especially compared to the competition. Not everyone cares about this, but it does look a little weird. It's a little phallic. Maybe more than a little. It's quite phallic. Now, on the good side, you do get 24-bit up to 96 kilohertz, which is really great sound quality. And most importantly, this microphone does sound good. It is also nice that this does have a mute button, especially for people that want to use it for like video conferencing or video calls. The grade that I give the Neat Skyline is a C-. With some of the features missing from this that I think are necessary with a USB microphone nowadays, it definitely brought that grade down. The build quality brought that grade down, but the only thing that really saved it were its sound capabilities and sound quality. Now, I'm not saying this is an absolutely great sounding microphone. I'm just saying compared to the other microphones today, I think it did well. Now, if you personally don't like the sound of this, definitely don't consider it because it does not have the features, and if you don't like the sound, just walk away. Quick pause, I do just want to clarify one thing. As of this recording, the Neat Skyline is actually going for $50. It says that it's on sale, so I'm assuming it's not staying at that price. But I will say, if it did stay at $50, I would probably bump my grade up to at least a C+, if not even a B-. Because even though it is missing some features, it does sound good. But overall, I do feel like this is, in fact, a conferencing USB mic. And it probably should have just been left at that, not really promoted as a podcasting mic. But I did just want to clarify that price change. If they leave it at $50, my grade definitely goes up. If you like the sound of this and you're willing to put up with the disadvantages and use it for a podcast, go for it, but I can't recommend doing that. But thank you all for watching this review of the Neat Skyline. I hope it helped you out, helped you decide whether this microphone is right for you or not, but most of all, I hope you had fun. Stay tuned for a lot more reviews and comparisons, and a big thank you to everyone that supports this channel being a member. Another thank you to everyone that watches and subscribes, and also thank you Neat for sending this microphone over. But seriously, I do appreciate every single one of you watching the audio hotline, and I'll see you audio nerds next time.